You are at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus pages want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one is for Kcorn321, who says, "Can you please rant about the hospital scene in End of Evangelion? Mainly how it made you feel to watch it for the first time, an overall view on how the scene was handled, and also how the scene comments on the otaku lifestyle. Also, in the Kiss anime sub I watched it on, Shinji closes the scene out by saying, 'I'm so fucked up.' However, the Netflix subtitle reads, 'I'm the lowest of the low,' which I think undermines the entire scene and takes away a lot of the impact. Any thoughts on this?" Well, um, the first time I watched the movie, I did not even realize he was jacking off. I just straight up didn't get it, didn't notice. I did notice the "I'm so fucked up" line, which I liked a lot, but I like basically heard about it on the internet later, and that was when I truly appreciated that he had jacked off and said that. And to me at the time, I just found it incredibly relatable. Just like it was everything about Shinji, I found relatable at the time. Just the idea that he's so lonely and tortured and confused on so many different levels that he, would even just jack off in this scenario, and just be like, "What the fuck is wrong with me?" And I felt that way around that age myself. Um, so like on a personal level, I was just like, "Yeah, I'm so fucked up too," and I kind of took it as a code. I mean, I've put that as a lyric in a bunch of my songs and stuff, and just referenced it a lot. So I love the scene. How it comments on the otaku lifestyle, I mean, you could view it in the sense of like, seeking escapism through a hot anime girl. I mean, Shinji's literally jacking off to a hot anime girl's tits in context, and like she's passed out, so there's nothing she can do about it. She's not. She has no agency in the situation. He is just using her for his own, his own sexual comfort. So I think there's a pretty easy parallel to draw there towards, jacking off to anime. Um, and just generally, yeah, again, it's just about being so far gone essentially that you just don't know what to do with yourself. Um, and the "I'm so fucked up" translation is great just because it has a lot of impact in English. Like, "I'm the lowest of the low" is a literal translation of the same thing. And, I've been reading some stuff online about why the Netflix translations are so literal, and that this is probably Studio Kara's fault. Because after Eva 3.0 debuted at Otakon, it was full of, like, double entendre and sexual innuendo between Shinji and Kaoru that Funimation had put in there, and the audience was going like totally apeshit with laughter. And someone from Kara was at that showing, did not appreciate this reaction to the movie, and they started cracking down really heavily on translations of the movie, making them on of Eva, making them extremely literal. I'm willing to believe that's exactly what happened. Personally, I think that probably a lot of people wouldn't be complaining if not for the fact that we had that original script. Like, if it weren't for the fact that the original translation had left such an impact on us from watching the show for the first time, I don't know if we would find it so, appalling to see these new translations, because they don't really mean anything different. They just don't sound as good in English. And I don't know how much it sounding good in English contributed to the memorability versus just like what literally happens. I mean, definitely in the case of "I'm so fucked up," that phrase had a ton of impact. Was it was it meant to even be seen that way is a question. I mean, in that case, I would definitely prefer the original translation. I think that it's unfortunate to not get that, especially when that's already in the public consciousness about Ava. Like, that's already how we refer to that scene, is in terms of that translation. Like, you're never going to be able to change the way that that is perceived in the West, in a broad sense. So, you know, someone needs to petition Studio Kara, I guess, and be like, "Yo, dog, you guys got to realize your new translation's not as good." And American anime fans are just spazzes. That's why they reacted that way to the movie screening at Otakon. But because they react that way to every movie screening at Otakon. Um, yeah, I would say it's less impactful. I wonder how people react. I mean, again, for me, I literally didn't even realize Shinji was jacking off in that scene the first time I watched it. I only found out through the internet. So, maybe other people will end up feeling the same way. They won't even notice what's going on, and then they'll have to hear about it later. You spend enough time with this show, and your perception on it's always going to change over time. I mean, I watched the show for the first time when I was 14. A lot of it went over my head, and a lot of the reason that I made the Ava videos that I did back in 2015 was that in rewatching the show, I had just now come to understand all those things. It wasn't like, oh, this is all stuff I know about Ava and I'm going to analyze. It was like I would watch an episode and go, oh, this is what that episode was trying to say, or wow, this is really interesting, and then I'd write about it. So I don't think that the initial viewing and initial impact is perhaps even as important as the longevity of spending time with the series and talking about it and communicating with other fans. And that went off the rails.